Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
My name's Dean. I'm a recovering addict, and this is Inside Addiction. I want to welcome author and recovering alcoholic Richard Broom to Inside Addiction. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So why don't you start telling us a little bit about yourself, how it was growing up?
I grew up in a town called Guilderland, New York. I was actually born in Albany Medical Center in Albany, New York, on April 17th, 1946. And, they moved a couple times, and then about 5 years old on, I was in Guilderland. I went through all my school years in Guilderland school systems. And, it was, if you look from the outside, it was middle-class America. White picket fence, hedges, that kind of thing. Some things were going on inside that weren't too great. Things were sometimes a little bit violent, sometimes a little bit, a lot of put-downs, a lot of anger, a lot of big arguments, and I took up some physical and some emotional abuse growing up. But, I didn't think anything of it. I thought that was normal.
So when were you first introduced to alcohol?
Okay, when I was about 14 years old, several of my friends and myself were camping out, and so it was a summer, so I was a little over 14, and we were camping out in the woods outside of this area where I lived in the village of Guilderland, and we went over and we stole some case of beer from a local golf course, and brought it up to where we were camping out and drank it. And the first time, most of my friends drank 2 or 3 beers, and I had probably 10 or 12 anyway. And I remember it was, I was kind of looking. What I thought was I should have started drinking this stuff a long time ago.
What was I waiting for?
Yeah, what was I waiting for? And I remember thinking, this is a lot better than working out and playing sports. I feel really good. The only time I ever feel this good is when I win a baseball game or basketball or something.
It can be a winning baseball game or basketball game.
Yeah, right.
And in every bottle.
It was this, and that's all it took. It wasn't those workouts every day to play 1 or 2, 3 games a week.
So were you drinking at that point, at that age, like every day?
No. I drank whenever I thought I could get away with it. That could have been 5 times a year, 6 times a year for the next 2, 3 years, 7 times a year. It wasn't a lot, but every time I was drinking, you know what I did? I got loaded. I drank to get drunk. There's no doubt about it, and that's what I was looking for. I was looking for that feeling that I got that first time.
So how long did it go on where you were just drinking when you could do it to it progressing to more?
Well, when I went to college, I remember thinking when I went to college, nobody's going to ever tell me what to do again. I just turned 17.
You knew everything.
Absolutely. I knew more than everything. And I remember thinking, nobody's telling me what to do again. And I get to the college and they want me to wear a beanie, freshman hazing and stuff. And I refused to wear the beanie.
So you're trying to get into a fraternity?
Oh, that's a different college.
Okay.
That's later on. First college I played basketball at, it was Cortland State. State University of New York at Cortland, but they called it Cortland State at the time. And I was a phys ed recreation major, and I was, going to classes. I wasn't doing that great in class. Some classes I did well in, and some I didn't. And played basketball, and I started drinking weekends, 1 night a week usually. And every time I went drinking, I got drunk.
So same thing.
Yeah, it was a little bit more often, that's all. And then halfway through the second semester, I got one of my major consequences. I got suspended from that college for a semester and a half for fighting in a downtown bar, and I was still 17. Halfway through the second semester. And I was fighting with a couple guys. They were older guys, 28 or 29 years old. And they ended up being a couple of assistant professors at the college. And so
that you were going to?
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, and they shouldn't have been in that bar either.
Right.
So anyway, I'm sure they got in trouble. I got suspended a semester and a half. And I remember the dean of men telling me, you can come back when you grow up. Well, guess what? I don't think I grew up, and I didn't want to wait that long. So I went to another college the following fall called Hudson Valley Community College. And I got into a federally funded program called Radiation Biology and Public Health, something like that. It was to work in nuclear plants, okay?
Mhm.
And you would, a lot of physics, a lot of chemistry, a lot of physiology, and there was nuclear biology and nuclear physics and radiation biology and you know, a few other courses. But it wasn't an easy course. And you know, when you're getting carrying about 17 hours a semester, and you're going to about 22, 23 hours a week because of, you know, chemistry lab and physics lab and physiology lab or whatever you're into, whatever course you're taking, it adds up. And you know, I found solace across the street at a bar,
The Grove.
the Grove, and started spending more time over there than I did in school. I got by good enough. I played baseball there, fall baseball there, second year. Anyway, no, the first year. It doesn't matter, but I just went through, it was 3-semester things at the time, 3 semesters a year at the time. And about 5th semester, I knew I was in trouble about staying in there. And I did things like I went to Florida instead of playing baseball, you know. Missed a couple games. I figured they'd need me anyway. They wouldn't let me go, you know. I was too good to be let go, you know, and they let me go, you know. And anyway, it went on and on and on. I was drinking every day. For those 2 years in that college, it wasn't long after I got going to that college that I was drinking every day. I was working at the Grove, a lot of, you know, 20 hours a week, 25 hours a week. I was living in a fraternity house because I pledged the fraternity because that's where all the action was there. And we were, you know, drinking beer, like on Saturday mornings and watching Bugs Bunny, or we had these big punches we used to make. It wasn't the whole fraternity now, it was just the people, you know, water seeks its own level, and I sought it, I found it, okay?
Seek and you'll find.
Yeah, there was about 8 or 10 of us that were a little bit on the wild side. I was just, you know, my upbringing was strict, so I was getting, you know, making up for lost time.
Right.
And the kind of guys I hung out with in the fraternity were guys that you say, hey, look, a dead bird, and they'd all look up. Anyway, it's just, well, it was me too, see?
Yeah.
So, anyway, I went through, and I missed a day when I was supposed to go to take a test to get out of the draft. In 1966, they had a thing where you had to take a test so you could have not, you know, to prove that you were learning something in college, see? And I missed that test because I was drunk up in Thatcher Park. So, because the school was closed that day, it was a setup. The water mains.
It was perfect. It wasn't a setup. It was
a setup.
It was perfect.
Anyway, 6 months later, I was in the Army now.
Okay.
You know, and I spent the next 2 years there.
So in the Army, did your drinking increase or decrease?
No, it actually helped me grow up a little bit because I wasn't drinking maybe once or twice a week. I tried other things in there, you know, little barbiturates, you know, little Tuinols, some benzos, what they call benzos, Valium, Librium. It was actually Librium. Smoked some hash, smoked some pot. I didn't like the pot. Hash wasn't too bad. But I always had, if you remember, back in that day, they had, maybe you don't. You don't.
I'm 38, Richard.
Oh, okay. You don't remember this. And you know what a bong is? Well, we had them when
I've heard of them.
There was a gallon.
Something you smoke out of?
Yeah. So it was a gallon. They were big. They were water pipes or whatever they go. And I'd fill it with wine. You know, half a gallon of wine.
Okay.
And we'd smoke the hash through the wine. And they all called me Juice Head because I took that wine and I drank it. A little bitter, but you know, that's what I did.
Oh.
But I only did that once or twice a week, so it was back down from every day.
So you were improving.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get out of the Army, after a couple years, and how's your life go?
Well, I get out and I get a job working iron for about a week, and I didn't like that because I got knocked off the 5th floor at the legislative building when they were building it in Albany, and I grabbed onto the beam on the way down. See, so then ever since then I've been afraid of things with heights, up in heights and stuff. Kind of a little wary of it, a lot wary of it. And I stopped working. I started working in bars. And I started working at Valley Steakhouse at the time.
It's a perfect job for any alcoholic or addict.
Especially down in the service bar. You can drink all, 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, and drinking free. Keeping a buzz.
Right.
It wasn't a couple years later where I couldn't keep the buzz anymore. Once I started, so I had to behave myself for a while, a lot of days, if I wanted to work 10 hours that day.
Pace yourself.
Well, I couldn't pace I paced myself for several years, and then after a while, I couldn't start. Once I started, I didn't know how fast I was going to get. That's when I became a pickle, as opposed to a cucumber.
So you got into the point of blackout.
Oh, I blacked out.
Blackout drunk.
I blacked out early on. I probably had, those 1 hour blackouts and those 2 day blackouts. Between all of that, probably 300, 400, 500 blackouts. I don't know.
So the progression of your blackouts ultimately lead up to a particular event in your life, which has completely
changed my life.
Changed your life.
Yeah. It's not a lousy way to have a bottom, but I didn't have it right then. I was going through my second divorce. It was 1979. I decided that I'm going to go to Florida to live from Albany. I go through this program I had to take because I got a DWI up here.
Okay.
And I'm running. I'm making it. I'm out of here. As soon as that program's over, I'm going. And I did. Actually, the Valley Steakhouse was opening a place down in West Palm Beach, and that's where I went. And I was, getting rid of all my responsibilities. 2 wives, 2 kids. Real good guy. And I went down to West Palm, and I think it was the end of February 1980, and didn't last long. Valleys, it wasn't working out, and then I went to, it wasn't working out because I was drinking and stuff, but I went and worked at a nightclub I was a night manager at a nightclub, and drank some more. I remember counting money some nights. It took me, 5 or 6 times to make sure I had it right. 5 o'clock in the morning.
I'm laughing, Richard, because I worked in bars for 10, 15 years, so I can identify.
Yeah. This place is called the Banana Boat. Good place. But it was, I was having fun once in a while. Still, not all the time though, but once in a while. Somebody else bought that, and I thought that was the end of the world because I wasn't night manager anymore, so I did something else. I drove a truck for a little while, delivering fish to restaurants. Got a job in a hotel as a food and beverage manager for 6, 8 months, and they caught up to me there because they thought I was on drugs. I was drinking. I went to the liquor room and drank, and I went to the wine cooler for the white wine and drank, and I went to the bar because I could have a drink once or a couple times a night if I was conversing with the customers. See? I had this little 3-way thing I was doing. Bar, liquor room, had to check that liquor again because it was wedding, bottles that were halves and quarter fulls from a wedding or some kind of other party banquet, and I'd have a little shot of something and go over to the white wine cooler, wash it down with this bottle of wine I had uncorked earlier. And
nice little triangle, ironically enough, one of the symbols of AA.
There it is. Right in my ring. Can you see that?
I did.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Anyway, I ended up working a year later. I got kicked out of there, and eventually they just let me go. There was some excuse. They were trying to get rid of me, and they really couldn't until I screwed up the count on a wedding, on a banquet. I overcharged them about $300 on a $10,000 bill, and that was just their way of getting rid of me. And after that, I wasn't working too much anymore. I was getting involved in the movement and the distribution of marijuana from Florida to Albany, New York, or Troy, New York, and I was getting enough money to live on that. So I wasn't the bosses. I was just one of the flunkies as usual. And but I thought I'd arrived again. I'm in, Now I'm in organized crime, man.
I'm the man.
Yeah. And that went on for a while. I worked at a couple places, and one night, July 4th, around midnight, it might have been the 5th, nobody really knows. I was in one of my blackouts. The last thing I remembered, about 3.5 hours earlier, I was shooting a real 44 Magnum off outside the bar, and this is in the city now, Palm Springs, and shooting it off in the air for real fireworks. Next thing I know, it's the next day. It's noon. I'm in some house I've never been in before, and it was a sister of this woman I had apparently called up, and I hated her, but that's who I was with. I was with some woman I hated in a house I'd never been to before, and then she hands me the phone. It's around noon. I just come to. I didn't wake up anymore. I came to, And the last thing I remember is 12, 15 hours ago maybe, and this woman tells me on the phone, hey, the police are looking for you. You shot 2 people last night. And that was the beginning of it. And I didn't know what to do, and I had to drink a little bit so I could think and figure something out here. And eventually, about 8 hours later, they caught up to me. Still I walked outside the house, and there was a SWAT team and a half a dozen detectives there, and they took me down. And I remember feeling relief because I couldn't stop drinking.
It's over.
Well, I'm not going to be able to drink for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I actually went like that. I went very, very long time. There'd be no drinking for a while.
So you're getting charged with shooting 2 people.
Yeah, second.
And it's a relief.
Yeah. In a way, I have no idea how much time you're going to do or anything else. Yeah. And I got arrested for first-degree attempted, two counts of first-degree attempted. And a couple of days later, I was going, from the jail, I was going to court, and I was just in the courthouse building in West Palm Beach, and we were going to the whatever chamber or whatever courtroom it was, and they stopped it in the middle and started going back where they came from, and this sheriff's deputy said to me, they're not going to do this official stuff today. One of those guys died. And I didn't even believe him. I thought he was just playing with me, playing cop stuff, And then I found out it was true. About 36 hours after the fact, the man died, one of them. And now I'm getting more and more nervous. It's going to be a real long time until I get out.
There was a point that, speaking with you prior to the taping, there was a point that you were even facing the electric chair?
Oh, yeah. They tried me for first-degree murder and first-degree attempted. I'm not going to go into why they were, trying to do that, but they thought it was something going on. There's something I didn't know, and I could never figure it out until 6 years later while I was locked up, that the guy that died that night was also involved in the movement of another kind of drug. Well, he wasn't. Anyway, he was dealing. And they thought it was some kind of hit, and it had nothing to do with nothing. It was a bad night. 2 people in the wrong place at the wrong time is what it was. And it's a pity that the man had to die, but he did. But he was probably a little bit like me.
So,
in a lot of ways.
so you go into the county, awaiting, I'm assuming, into the state prison system.
Yeah, I go 9
9
months in.
And you're not drinking?
No, they had it in there, but I didn't drink it. Until about 2 weeks before the trial. And I made my own, about 5 gallons of it, and I found out what I was missing again.
Just like that?
Just like that. I got some of that in me, but it was Easter Sunday, 1983, actually. And I caused a lot of problems that day. There was like a lot of fighting going on, trying to get to my booze. Somebody's arm got broken, reaching for it. Like I broke it.
Honestly, a lot of fighting, or more like a riot.
It was like a riot, yeah. And it was, they had a lot of people were off because it was Easter Sunday, so they had a small contingent of people in there, and they had to call all these people in because they were afraid of coming in that little cell block, if that's what you want to call it. And, people were getting hurt, and I was drinking. And another guy was drinking. It was only two of us. I was going to share to begin with, but I found after I had that first 2 cups of wine, or halfway through the second cup of wine, I said, you know what? I can get drunk for 4 or 5 days if I get 5 gallons of this here.
Mm.
You know, and now I'm not going to share. No, you can't have any. And you know what the truth is, it would have turned to vinegar in about a day or so, but I didn't know that. I was naive, you know, didn't understand that kind of stuff.
So at what point do you think you found recovery, had a spiritual awakening, realized that enough was enough?
I got convicted of second-degree murder because they were trying to prove that it was premeditated. It wasn't. It just happened. Jury came back with second. I got sentenced sometime in June of 1983. I got sentenced to life with a 15 years running concurrent of the 3-year mandatory, which means I'm eligible after 3 years, okay, for parole. Mm-hmm. But that's the only way out. The only way I'm out of this place or out of this system is dead or on parole, and then you're not out of the system either. So the next, 10 years or 9 plus years, at first I drank when I got to my place where I was going to stay for a while. Okay, permanent party they call it. It's called Rayford's Union Correctional Institute in North Florida, and they had all kinds of stuff there. I mean, they had any drug you wanted just about, and I mean, I did LSD there twice. Okay? With I got drunk about 15 times, and the last time I got drunk, I had my first in-prison blackout, and I was up to the same behavior. I was trying to hurt somebody. I probably really hurt somebody in the chow hall with a mop handle. And then I don't remember it. It was in a blackout, and the next day I come in. That was my first prison blackout. First blackout I had in almost over a year, 14, 15 months. And the guy told me the next day what I was doing, and I didn't believe him at first. He said, "You know what you did yesterday?" And I said, No, I didn't do anything. He said, "Nothing's wrong." He says, "Well, you did this." And he told me I chased these 2 young guys around with a mop handle, and basically I was trying to hurt them real bad or kill them. And I says, "Well, if I did that, I'd be in solitary confinement." He said, No. The guards just locked you in. He let you go. They didn't care. I said, "How long did this go on?" He said, "About 20 minutes." I said, "Well, what happened?" He says, "You ran out of gas. You know, you slowed down. You
get tired eventually."
And guards came in. They asked you if you were done, and you said yes. And they said, "Go to your cell." Now it's the next day again. I don't know how long I stayed up that night or anything, but I came to around 9. I was working in the chow hall, and that's when he told me about it. And that's when I did the first step. I didn't know what a first step was, but that's when I did it. I can't use the language here. And that's when I did the first step. I didn't know what a first step was, but that's when I did it. I can't use the language here, but it was basically, well, what I said was, you want me to tell you exactly what I said to him? After he got done and he convinced me that I had, what I had done the day before, because I didn't believe him at first. Yeah, I said to him, "I guess I got to stop this shit. I guess I got to go to that AA shit." George Carlin said that was okay. Anyway, that's what I was doing right then was saying, you know what, I really can't control this. Because I thought in there I could control it, just getting drunk once or twice a week, I'd be able to have no problems, right? Sure. It was that time, when I do it every day that I get crazy and get delusional. Well, it wasn't working that way. I was trying to con myself into thinking it was all right to get drunk there. That's what I was saying. I can't control this. It's controlling me. I knew my life was unmanageable because I was in Department of Corrections was trying to manage it. Make sense?
Absolutely. I always say, if you don't control your life, someone or something else will.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it ends up being the Department of Corrections, and people that have a disease end up being dealt with in the criminal justice system. So
I'd say 80% of the people in prison have a drug or alcohol problem. Most of them won't admit it because that makes you weak.
Sure.
You got to be macho.
So you find recovery behind the walls.
Yes. Yeah, my last 9.5 years locked up behind the walls or work release was sober and clean. from that day, I don't know what that day was, but from September 22nd, 1983, when I went to my first AA meeting, until now, I haven't picked up a drink yet.
You get out of prison and
Or a
you're
drug.
put on parole. For how long?
17 years and 11 months to the day.
17 years, 11 months to the day. Ever violated?
Never even got close to being violated.
Get off parole. Continue to be sober.
Absolutely.
How's your life been since you got sober?
My life has continually got better. It's got, I have things that I feel accomplishments. I feel sometimes, at the very least, internal recognition of what I'm doing. I work in the field. Meaning I work in a rehab. I work in a place called Behavioral Health of the Palm Beaches, and I've worked there since the place was open almost 15 and a half years ago.
In a local connection, real quick, you've also worked at Conifer Park.
Yeah, for about a year. Not even that, but close to a year.
So we've got about 2 minutes left. Your life, it just sounds like such a road to redemption.
For me, yeah. I mean, I'm okay with who I am today. I'm not a. Look, I did this. That was me. I don't regret the past. I wish I shut the door on it. That was me. I can't do anything about what was me, but I can do what is about what I am today, and I'm trying to be the best human being I can be today. I don't forget the past because it's a learning tool. Hopefully I'll never do the same things again, and I won't if I continue to do what I'm doing every day, which is go to meetings, work in the field, read books, read several pages of daily readers every morning, pray, meditate, and then go on through my day and try to help somebody.
Not only reading books, you have a book out called
Cocked and Loaded. It's about it's a lot deeper into my life story than I just did. I didn't talk much about it, but I believe that I got the way I was because of the experiences that I had within my environment growing up and then afterwards. Okay, I'm a product of the experiences I had within my environment and environments over the years. Led me to be I don't know, just trying to prove myself to other people. What a big shot I was, and I wasn't. See, and so you just keep going through this vicious cycle, and then finally I got to the cycle, I reversed it, where I set goals, do something, I get recognized for those goals, I get accomplishments, get recognized externally or internally for those goals, which motivates me to do something better, and I just continue the healthier way of doing things.
So one last thing, for someone that's done almost 10 years incarcerated, over 10
years, 8 months, and 5 days, but who's counting?
17 years on parole. You've done it one day at a time for how many days now?
10,472.
Any advice you'd give to somebody that's watching now that's thought, I've just gone past the point, is stuck on that blame and shame of their past, can't get out of that bottle, is only drinking once a week, is only drinking once a month, but when they do, same thing.
Go to an outpatient program, or go to AA, or if it's other kind of drugs, NA. Get involved. Go to a meeting every day at least. If you need to detox, go to a detox for 5-6 days. Get it out of you physically. Then go to meetings, or go to a rehab if you need extra help. Get a psychologist if you need extra help, or somebody in the field who knows addiction therapist. And just try to keep going every day, and after a while, it'll be a whole different change in the way your lifestyle is. And you'll probably be able to stay sober and clean.
Richard, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for asking me.
Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel,